My name is Linda Mayhan O.
And my name is Fabian Almazan.
This is Sara Serpa.
Rajna Swaminathan.
My name is Kyle Sunye. Philip Golub.
Is Mario Lane Fabrizio.
Ike Sturm.
Is Jesse Lewis.
Desmond White. Adam O'Farrell.
Kim Anderson. Lara Bello.
A vibrant community of imaginative musicians
Now finds itself struggling to make a living.
Because we are unable to perform for audiences due to social distancing.
Luckily, a new organization has emerged to help during these difficult times. The Jazz Coalition is a diverse network of jazz industry
Professionals, artists, and supporters.
Their goal is simple: to raise funds and commission artists to create new works.
Please join us in making a tax-deductible contribution
by visiting jazzcoalition.org.
jazzcoalition.org.
Visiting jazzcoalition.org. If you have the means,
whatever you can donate would be greatly appreciated.
Let us join forces and help keep our musicians and our collective musical heritage alive.
Thank you and
Do, ah, ho, ah, ho, ah. Do, ah, ho, ah, ho, ah. Do, ah, ho, ah, ho, ah. Do, The camp was far. Out of the yard, tucked into a low, to the left of the road, where the black workers' cubatas.
My name is Sara Serpa. Welcome. I am a Portuguese vocalist composer, and I'm speaking to you from my apartment in New York, in Harlem. And I am here today to tell you a little bit about my new project called Recognition, which is a film and music, and the album and the film are being released on June 5th on Biophilia Records. So I thought it would be interesting to share a little bit about the whole project, how it was created, how it started, how was my creative process. And so let's start with my little presentation. Here we have the album cover. Recognition features Zina Parkins on harp, Mark Turner on tenor saxophone, and David Vireles on piano. It's a project that started in 2017, and I'm going to just outline different phases of the project. Like the beginning was an invitation that led to research. My research led me to unexpected discoveries, and after this there was the script writing, film creation, music composition, so this is the creative part, then finally presenting it to the world for premiere and several performances, and then crystallizing it into an object or something that I can share it with the world in a more consistent way, studio recording and an album release. So first of all, I want to tell you the story about the invitation. So I was invited by John Zorn, who was curating a performance series combining film and music at the Drawing Center in New York. I decided to explore a new thing that I had never done before, and to create my own film instead of using someone else's film. And so I decided to create an experimental documentary in a silent film format. And my idea was to have titles introducing each scene, then visuals accompanied by music. The goal for this film was that it would explore my personal research, focusing on Portugal's oppressive colonial past and with emphasis on white privilege and structural racism. And my goal was to find intersections between my family's stories, which I see as a microstructure, and the national narrative or national history of a country, which I see more as a macro structure. A little bit about myself, because I think it will help you kind of contextualize why am I researching on this topic. Basically, I was born in 1979 in Lisbon, Portugal, and this was 5 years after this 1974 revolution that liberated the country from a 40-year-long dictatorship. And I descend from a family that settled in Angola in 1910 when it was a Portuguese colony. My grandfather and both parents were born in Angola and lived through the development and fall of the empire. And later on, my parents were part of a politically active generation that rebelled against the colonial regime, the Issuant War, and the repressive policies of the dictator Salazar. So this all frames like my personal motivation. Why did I want to research on this topic? Why recognition also? Like, I decided to call it recognition following some readings that I was doing at the time, and following this idea introduced by Paul Gilroy, who speaks about becoming conscious of one's post-colonizer privileges in a post-neocolonial world happens in several steps. denial, guilt, shame, recognition, and finally reparation. And Grada Quilomba, who wrote a great book called Plantation Memories, she kind of explores these steps a little further, and she says recognition follows shame. It is the moment when the white subject recognizes its own whiteness. It is a process of acknowledgement. One finally acknowledges reality by accepting the reality and perception of others. Reparation means the negotiation of recognition. One negotiates reality. So in this sense, it is the act of repairing the harm caused by racism by changing structures, agendas, spaces, positions, dynamics, subjective relations, and all these means giving up privileges. A lot to digest, I know. So I came across many pictures during my research on my family archives. This is my great-grandfather. It's a house he built in 1910. My great-grandparents and my great-grandfather. So many of these pictures bring a lot of questions, but what really kind of impacted the whole project was this unexpected discovery that my mother had. Like, she discovered Super 8 films shot by my grandfather in the 1960s in Angola and Portugal, and she had never seen these films. So basically I digitalized the films, and I spent many weeks just kind of looking at the films and just trying to make sense of them, asking her questions. But they were silent films also, so there were many images, like these ones we are seeing right now, where I was just trying to see, like, how can I use this for the new narrative that I want to create. So the new narrative, a different reality, was adapted from Amilcar Cabral's writings, from Unity and Struggle. And so, like, the texts that appear on the film are written by Amilcar Cabral. Cabral was born in 1924 in Guinea-Bissau. He was the leader of the Guinea-Bissau and Cabo Verde Liberation Party, revolutionary, humanist, poet, military strategist, and a prolific writer on revolutionary theory, culture, and liberation. And he led the movement against Portuguese colonialism. And sadly, he was assassinated by the Portuguese secret police, PIDE, on January 20th, 1973. So basically the film just opposes texts by Amilcar Cabral written on 1960 with films filmed and shot in the 1960s by a white settler in Angola and Portugal. So the film was created scene by scene with the help of the amazing film director Bruno Soares in Portugal. His work was crucial. He really, his creativity and expertise really kind of helped shape this project. And so we worked many weeks together, also many hours working scene by scene. And then once each scene was completed, I would be kind of creating the music for each scene. And my goal was to have like this music that could be fluid, there could be some kind of fluidity between written material and improvised music that could create an atmosphere for reflection, so that would not distract from visual and historical content. And that could be a music that I could conduct and perform at the same time. And I invited musicians with whom I had never worked before and that I highly admired. They're Zina Parkins, Mark Tunner, and David Vireles. And so like the first time we performed this piece at the Drawing Center, we were a trio, so just voice, tenor saxophone, and harp. Here are images at the Winter Jazz Festival in which Ingrid Lawbrook subbed for Mark Tunner. And here at the Kitchen in New York, where David Vireles is subbing for Zina. And so finally, last year we went to studio, and with the help and expertise of Pete Randy, we recorded this album, and it's ready now for you to watch the film and to listen to the music. Above all, it's important for me to remind you that talking about Angola and Portugal is actually talking about Brazil, United States, and Europe. Like the whole Western world shares a collective shameful past of occupation, exploitation, slave trade, segregation, racism, oppression, violence. So this is kind of really important to recognize. And for me, like, I would love that all the audiences that watch the film, I hope that this makes you listen, see, reflect, and recognize privilege and inherited structures of racism that silently and deliberately have been perpetuated through present times. I really believe in the power of music and art as a tool for social evolution, reflection, and education. And so I'm really curious to know, like, how do you perceive and how do you appreciate recognition? Thank you.
Hi everyone, I am so happy to be joined today by Sara Serpa, an incredible artist on her album as well. For all of you that are tuning in for the first time, Biophilia Records was founded a couple years ago, and the word biophilia means an innate attraction or love towards other living things. I've always cared deeply about the environment and climate change and all of those things, so I started this label to bring musicians together, not so much because of the genre that they associate with, but more because of a philosophical similarity. From time to time, well, when I say from time to time, pre-COVID-19 time, we would go out and volunteer in the community and plant trees and clean rivers. This festival was supposed to start on April 22nd at the Jazz Gallery, 14 performances from all of the artists on Biophilia Records, and that was to coincide with the 50th anniversary of Earth Day. But here we are online, and I am so glad to welcome to the family. That sounds like we're in the mob or something. I am so glad to welcome to the label Sara Serpa. So, hi, Sara. Hi, everybody. Hi. Yeah. Welcome to the mob. I'm not going to speak anymore. Well, I'll speak a little bit, but I'm just completely blown away by what you have accomplished. The interdisciplinary approach that you've taken is something that really resonates with me. How, why, and who, and what, and all those things.
Well, I mean, I think like the presentation kind of explained a little bit what was going on. This was the first time I ever ventured into this world, so yeah, I'm happy you like it. Yeah.
And for everybody at home, you can see that we're joined by the full band: Zina Parkins, Mark Turner, and El Jocoso, David Vires. I don't know how to convey to people out there who are not familiar with you all how medicinal your music is and how much it helps me in my personal life and everybody who's listening. The artistry that you produce changes lives, in my opinion. So thank you for being part of the festival, and I'll just open it up for you guys to talk amongst yourselves of what it was like to do the recording, what it's like to work with Sara. So all your complaints, please just throw them at her right now.
Just expose me now.
Yeah.
All my secrets. No, I mean, I had never worked with these musicians before, and when I called Mark and Zina, was really kind of trying to write something that also, like, the combination of harp, voice, and saxophone was something very new to me, you know, so it was very new world in terms of writing music and understanding what works and what doesn't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if Zina and Mark have anything to say. If you remember the first time we played the music at the drawing center.
Yeah, I remember. I remember rehearsing at Zina's place. Right, for the first gig.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
well, I don't know. I mean, I can say, you know, I was intrigued by the combination. I liked it, and I liked it because maybe just number one, I tend to like, not always, but I like music that's kind of minimal, and so this was minimal. You know, minimal in terms of the amount of people in the band, minimal in terms of the writing, and the space that each person is allowed. So I like that a lot. So that's what it sounded like to me.
For me, when I was listening to the album for the first time, I just happened to be listening to Carlos Salcedo a lot as well, the harpist, and just learning about it, about that period in time. And, you know, a lot of people are aware that John Coltrane was influenced by ragas and Indian music and that sort of thing. But he was also listening a lot to Carlos Salcedo, and all of the things that he was doing. And so, yeah, for me, there was a definite connection in there. Zina, please. I mean, I've the harp for me is a very peculiar instrument, because I feel, and this is just my opinion, I'll just preface it with that, but it's viewed as this like almost angelic instrument by society, but it's got some serious guts. Like it's got there's a lot of range in what that instrument can do, and just the way that it sustains every note, and it's just, to me, it's one of those instruments that sounds alive. It's breathing, it's vibrating the whole time, in the same way that a piano does. But anyway, enough of what I think. Please talk to us what it's like for you as a harpist to be in this environment, in this type of music with these musicians.
I feel so honored to be in this environment, actually. And I, like Mark, I was really intrigued with the combination of voice and saxophone and harp. It's a unique combination. And I didn't really know your music that well, Sarah, and I just was so taken with your sense of melody within the spare writing that you do, that it's just, it's sort of, this is an odd word to use, but it's luxurious.
Yeah.
In a lot of sense,
yeah.
I find. And it always takes a twist and a turn that you don't expect. And just the texture of your voice, also, it has so much depth that it just seemed like with the breath of the saxophone and just the sense of the touch of the finger under the string, that like those tactile experiences really blended together in this combination. Of course, adding piano gives a kind of body to the sound. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was if one extra instrument was added, that was a good one. And also I love the combination of like piano and harp, and marimba and harp too are also good, but piano and harp are really is really a good combination. And it's funny that you mentioned Salcedo, because when I studied harp growing up in Detroit, we studied, there are various methods, and I studied the Salcedo method of harp and played many of those harp pieces that he wrote.
Yeah,
so they're somehow embedded in my history.
Yeah, they're incredible. I mean, I'm constantly searching for stimulating music, and it really holds up his music. It like just listening to it today, it's still, it's just like it transports me. And yeah, you mentioned that the adding of piano was great, and it's not just any piano; it's the piano of David, which I'm a big fan on many levels. We're both Cuban pianists, and thank you for existing. You're doing the right things. Yeah, yeah. How are you doing throughout? We were talking before the interview began. We were talking about tuning pianos. Yeah.
I've seen a lot of people that went ahead and tried that the first time during the quarantine.
Yeah.
Piano players.
Yeah. We're all in the struggle. I have a lot more respect and admiration for not just piano tuners, but I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've had to learn many things in a very short amount of time during this pandemic. Sara, I'd love for you to speak a little bit more about the process of finding the actual film. I mean, what was it like for you when you finally saw these? It must have been exhilarating, I would imagine.
I mean, to be honest, like the first time I got the films, I was like, maybe there's nothing here. I wasn't very, I was very determined that I would be doing something with just photos and effects, So it took me a while, and also like it takes a lot of time just to kind of watch films that were made, shot by my grandfather that he passed away when I was 10 years old. So I never had the chance to even speak to him about all these, and just trying, it was kind of a deep experience for me just to kind of trying to imagine what was he thinking when he was filming these scenes, and at the same time, there was some kind of aesthetic, it's not just kind of he was not filming family scenes,
it wasn't Instagram.
He was kind of filming not food and family, no. Yeah. So he was filming landscapes, what was around him. And I had never seen images of the colonies, like what was life there, So there's, it was intense. And I spent like a lot of time just kind of watching and trying to see like, how can I use this for this project? How can I use these images to align with the narrative I want to create? And how will people perceive it? Also like there's always that concern. How will others see this? How do they see this? Yeah.
Well, I think I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
When you guys perform this live, how much are you watching the film as it's playing, or are you more focused on the music? Because I know that there's a balance of improvisation to reading. So
I mean, I'm usually watching the film. I'm not sure. I mean, I think Zina and Mark. So just to explain, like the first three performances were trio, and then like David came in one. The last live performance of this project, which was trio too, but it was just piano, saxophone, and voice. I think that when David was watching the film and I had to conduct, I'm always the conductor and just trying to kind of align what we're doing with what's going on with the film. I don't know about Zina, Mark, or David, like how important it is to watch the film while you're performing.
But sometimes it's not that easy to watch it. I really have to watch my hands when I'm playing. So it's not that easy to like really focus looking away and just play for me. So I tended not to watch as much as maybe I would have liked to. But.
Yeah, I've found that to be frustrating because I've done a few productions like operas and stuff where I'm in the pit, and I've never actually seen the actual opera. I'm just down there just trying to stay alive and follow the conductor. So I was just curious in a smaller setting with you guys how that works.
You also have a lot of written material you can't really can't
Yeah.
really watch.
Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I think it'd be cool to whenever, I don't know, maybe sub it out to someone so you can just go watch it. I think that.
You know, actually, for me, like once the film was put together with the sound we recorded, it was actually the first time I could kind of see the impact of the sound with
Yeah.
the image, because for me performance was always I mean, it's always kind of a little stressful, you know, and also like just having all these responsibilities, you know, like or conducting, look, you know, being in tune or whatever, kind of playing the music and yeah, and deliver something that's meaningful, you know. So
Yeah.
Also, you're usually responsible for the projection of the film.
Yeah.
Making sure it's, you know, it's in a good position in relationship to us, and you know, so you have so much on your plate during the performance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it different, the live performance versus the recording session itself? How did you kind of plan that out, or did you feel like you had to adapt in the moment, or did it go the way you expected it to?
Well, there were many unexpected things during the recording. You know, like I don't have Final Cut Pro. I don't have any other film editing stuff, you know. So I kind of lined up or kind of organized the material in a very basic, primitive way, I can say, maybe, now that I know what's possible to do with technology. So there were some moments where we had to figure out like how many choruses of improvisation or how many bars of improvisation. You know, Pete Randy helped a lot to pre-produce on the pre-production. So he helped me a lot, just kind of organizing the tracks, you know, with the film, like how long was each track, that kind of thing. So there was some kind of pre-production and then some figuring out during the studio. We only had one day at the studio, you know, so it was
in
kind
true
of record
New York
time.
style. Yeah.
Yeah. And Mark had just returned from where? Japan? I can't even remember. Yeah, I don't know. And I think it was just kind of, I think it was just kind of like, we have one day to do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, so.
Yep. Yeah. One composer that I can think of that really grills people on how they compose things in a way that I enjoy is John Hollenbeck, and he sometimes will do that. So I think I'll try to do that to you. This. That how did that happen? How did that come to exist?
I don't know.
Okay, cool. All right. I just really like it.
It was just intuition.
Yeah. No, but it's really cool. It's really, really cool. I mean, it's like, for me, composition, and again, this is just me, you can make the analogy to a novel or a poem, both completely valid and mediums for human beings to express themselves. And as much as I value a long novel, there's something magical about a short little phrase that just instantly gives you a feeling. And as musicians, we study the architecture of composition and the craft of the theory of it. So the balance of those two things, like being able to really, as a musician, keep you interested in that architectural way, but then also as a human being feel something, is fascinating to me. And this, I mean, that's a definite emotion right there. And it's just, thank you for writing that. Yeah.
I'm glad you like it. No, you know, like there was really a concern, like because I was conducting and also because it was the first time I was playing with Mark and Zina.
Mm-hmm.
And also just, I mean, writing for harp is very different from writing for a piano. And I realized like many things that Zina couldn't do. You know, I wanted to play all these chromatic lines and she was like, no, this can't be done. You know, so, but there was also like the intention of this is music for a film, you know, so I just need to kind of create some simple ideas that don't get in the way of the image or
Yeah.
of the yeah. So that's
Yeah.
mostly, and I think each song was very different, or each piece was very different the way I wrote it. Yeah.
One of the things that I'm jealous of harpists is that pianists, we can generally do a tenth. You guys can, like, your intervals are wide, like super wide, and I'm very jealous of that. Well, on that jealousy note, I think it's a good time to view another portion of the film, and then we'll be right back and we'll start taking some of people's questions. Cool. This is right smack in the middle of the film, so hope you enjoy at home. So yeah, wow, that's really it kind of snaps you back into reality, seeing that. It reminds me of some of the footage that I've seen in Cuba of the sugarcane fields, and Cuba, sadly, is the place in the Americas that had slavery the longest out of anywhere. Yeah. So, Sara, you were saying that you wanted to mention something?
Yeah, I wanted to say, you know, like that before writing this music, I spent like almost a month just listening to Mark and Zina, just to kind of have in mind their sounds. And I also want to say that once I played with David, like the first time, and I've heard like many situations where David and Mark were playing together, and I've always kind of liked their interaction, you know, like how they played together. So when the trio played, I felt like this is what will kind of put together, it's kind of the glue, you know, like it will kind of make the project and the music, like it kind of really lifted the music, you know, like I think I kept feeling a little bit frustrated, like after a performance, like is it something that I wrote? Like, did I write it bad? You know, like some questioning myself. And it was cool that once we played with David, then it was kind of like, cool. So let's just maybe think about this as a quartet.
Yeah. Is it something I wrote? I like that. I really like that. I have that feeling often too. Cool. Something that I've been mentioning throughout all of these Biophilia Records Festival is the fact that right now, obviously, we are not touring as musicians. We're not really able to have a source of income in that way. I was very happy to see that Sara is now the recipient of a grant from a new organization called the Jazz Coalition. So we're putting that up right now. I've turned into like this, it's pretty funny, Yeah, it's over you, David. People are seeing the the website. Anybody at home, if you have the means and you can help us. Nobody knows how long this is gonna last, and as musicians, it's a very strange time. But thank you to the Jazz Coalition for existing, for helping. Thank you for everybody out there that has helped us musicians. I should mention that right now, Biophilia Records, we've changed the way that we sell our music. We've made it now so that it's either completely free or pay what you can, because we understand that although it is difficult for the musicians right now, it's difficult for everyone. And as I mentioned earlier, for me at least, music is an essential medicine just to help me feel throughout my life. So right now, help us musicians. Right now, you can any price that you choose to pay for Sara's album will go directly to her. We're not keeping the profits as a label so that we can help both the artists and the fans. And I would encourage you at home to also buy the albums that all of these other musicians, we're like the Brady Bunch here, all of these musicians have put out. That's the best way you can support them. Yeah, thank you guys for existing. Let's see if we can take some questions from the audience. If we can't, I have a go-to question that I've been asking most people. Sara, did you run the film while you were making the studio recording? Was one question that we have.
Yes, it was on my screen, and there was one screen also in the big room where Zina, Mark, and David were. But mostly it was aligned, and there was like that's where Pete Randy was crucial in the pre-production of the recording.
Let's see. Great job with writing music for the film. Yeah. Oh, more compliments. There's a lot of compliments for you guys. If there aren't any more questions, I'm going to ask that question that I've asked a lot of people that has nothing to do with anything. So if anyone has a question at home, please ask it now. Otherwise, I'm going to do it. All right, I'm going to do it.
Actually.
Yeah.
I'm wondering how you as a label, how you're navigating the situation. What's your projection for like the next little while, like as far as like your releases, and do you think it's a good time to be putting records out as an artist? I mean, obviously you think so because you're supporting different. Besides Sara, there are other artists that are releasing records, right? In this.
Yeah.
So I just want to hear your take on this, like as it pertains to the current situation.
Sure. Well, I mean, I think it varies from artist to artist, and I make sure to have that conversation with each artist individually, because I don't. When I started this label, I am a musician, so I want to make sure that I cater to the musicians as much as possible. So yeah, I spoke with everyone that's releasing this year, and we all felt like we should put the albums out now. There's so much uncertainty. We don't know how long this is going to last. So my I don't know, to me it feels like we should release albums now that we were planning to release, because people need it. I mean, it's during this time that we need the arts. We need science now more than ever, but the arts we also need. So I'm personally not thinking about money or profits or how the label is going to survive this. I have faith that we'll survive, but I mean, people come first. So I want to help the listeners. I want to help the artists. So yeah, we're putting the albums out. We're not making any profits right now, and that's totally fine. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We have a question. Sorry, the screen is tiny, which is why I have to do this. Wondering if there were other video projects that you used as reference. Yeah, are there any other video projects that you used as reference, Sara?
No.
Yeah.
I
Cool.
really
Next question.
I went really into something that I had never done, and it was very kind of, everything was new, you know, and it was yeah, it was, that's I mean, it was the way I did it, but yeah, I didn't see anything.
Yeah, and before we went live, I was telling you that for me there was kind of this life-changing, at least musical life-changing art, a film that I watched that made a huge difference, and it reminded me a lot of this. I mean, they're different, but it's called Body Song, and Johnny Greenwood scored it, and some of that music is actually heard in There Will Be Blood, which was the reason that he wasn't eligible for the Oscar, because he had already written that music for something else. So, but before you watch Body Song, watch this. Yeah, watch Recognition. Let's see if we have any other question. Someone asked about the instrumentation and how you came up with it.
Yeah, I think, you know, I think I thought about like working with people I've always admired, but never had the chance. It was kind of, everything was new, you know, like doing film and music. And so, yeah, I decided I'm going to call the people I really love their sound, you know, and so I called them. And I think David also came in late or after, like the premiere, but I've always had huge admiration for each one of them, like how in their projects as leaders, you know, there's a very specific sound and environment, musical environment that I love and very unique. So yeah, for me it was an honor. Like also I was a little nervous, I have to confess, you know. But yeah, like I think if I have heroes, I should just try to play with them. Yeah.
That sounds good. I married my hero, so that's cool. Well, it's 7 o'clock, so for everyone at home, if you hear screaming in the background, nothing to worry about. We're just cheering everyone that's working through the COVID pandemic here in New York. Well, I guess I'll ask my stupid question, which I've asked everyone. If you could be a flightless bird, which flightless bird would you be?
Flightless.
Yeah, flightless
Is
bird.
a penguin a flightless bird?
Yes. Yeah.
I want to be a penguin.
Okay.
That's me. You stole it.
Ah, she was quicker. In true penguin spirit. Yeah.
I'll say the same for me. I'd be a penguin, definitely.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe penguin too.
Yeah. David, I
have no idea. I don't know.
Sí, yo no sé si en Cuba hay algún pájaro que no pueda volar, no sé. Well, David will be the tocororo, and I'll be the cartacua. We can both fly, but whatever. Great. Well, thank you guys and women so much for being a part of this. I am thankful that I could play a little role in sharing this art, because for me this is one of those projects that on a human level, not just music, people need to know about history and what's happened and come to terms with it so that we don't make the same horrific mistakes again, although I'm sure we will. But yeah, I really admire the work that all of you do. I really admire the work that you do, Sara. So thank you all very much. I think we'll end it here, and we'll play 2 more clips from the film now. So any last word from the penguins?
Thank you, Fabian.
Yeah. Okay. You're welcome.
Thank you.
No, just thank you. Thank you for all the work of putting this festival together. You know, I know it was a lot of work, you know,
nice.
So I really appreciate that. And thank you, Zina, Mark, and David for making time for this. Really great to see your faces.
Thank you and congrats.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, it wouldn't happen without you. So thank you.
Yeah, I mean, one thing I can say about all of these musicians is that there's zero fluff in what you guys do. There's always depth to everything, and the world is a better place for it. So thank you. Bye, everyone. Oh, sorry, before we go, Awakening Orchestra this Saturday. You'll hear their music after we play Sara's music. Okay, bye, everyone. Bye.
Umbundu. Kimbundu. Kikongo. Chokwe. Kwanyama. Oshikwanyama. Ngangela. Lingala. Bangala. Lunda. Ngoya. Nyaneka. Oshiwambo. Songo. Zinga. Nzinga. Queen Zinga.